Part 5, The New World. Chapter 41, Rebuilding Trust. The soft, golden light of the early morning sun filtered through the canopy of trees, casting a gentle glow over the village that had become Adrian and Serena's new home. The forest surrounding the coastal village was thick with the sounds of life, birds calling to each other, the rustle of leaves, and the distant crash of waves against the shore. It was a peaceful place, far removed from the chaos and danger of their past. The village, once a simple, quiet community, had become a symbol of hope and renewal. News of their triumph over the curse had spread quickly, bringing with it both admiration and skepticism. While many welcomed them with open arms, eager to share in the happiness of their newfound freedom, there were those who still held on to their doubts, unsure of the couple's motives and wary of the past that had shaped them. Adrian and Serena walked through the village, their steps slow and deliberate, taking in the changes that had occurred since their arrival. The streets, once quiet and serene, were now bustling with activity as the villagers worked to rebuild and restore what had been damaged during the conflict. There was a palpable sense of anticipation in the air, the energy of a community on the verge of something greater. Yet, despite the joy that surrounded them, Adrian could sense the undercurrent of tension. Not everyone was as eager to forgive, and some couldn't forget the darker days that had preceded their arrival. The weight of those past actions hung between them and certain villagers, a reminder that redemption would take time. But as they continued forward, hand in hand, Serena's quiet confidence and Adrian's steady determination served as a beacon for the future they hoped to build, a future not just for themselves, but for the village they had chosen to call home. Adrian and Serena understood that the journey ahead would not be easy. The destruction caused by their past actions was not something that could be undone simply by breaking the curse. Trust, once fractured, was a delicate thing to rebuild, and they both knew that the process would require patience, humility, and time. Despite the relief of having freed themselves from the curse's grip, the echoes of their previous choices lingered in the village, and the weight of their mistakes remained a constant reminder. Some villagers, particularly those who had been directly affected by their past decisions, still harbored resentment, and the distance between them was palpable. Rebuilding their lives together in this new place meant confronting the mistakes they had made, not just the ones involving the curse, but those that had hurt others along the way. However, as they stood together, ready to face the consequences of their past, there was a quiet determination in their hearts. Adrian and Serena knew that this was a new beginning, not just for them, but for the relationships that had once been part of their lives. They would need to prove that they were more than their mistakes, that their actions moving forward would speak louder than the regrets of the past. Slowly, they began to rebuild, one step at a time, reaching out to those they had wronged and offering the humility that only true change could bring. They had broken the curse, but the real challenge was learning how to heal the wounds they had inflicted on others, and on themselves. Through sincerity and dedication, they hoped to restore the faith that had once been placed in them, knowing that the road to redemption was just as important as the road to freedom. In the village square, Adrian stood beside Serena, his gaze sweeping over the lively scene unfolding before them. The air was filled with the sound of hammers on wood and the bustle of people arranging tables and decorations, preparing for a grand feast in their honor. The once somber village now hummed with energy and purpose, the promise of celebration bringing a much-needed sense of renewal. Despite the festive preparations, there was an undercurrent of tension, a quiet awareness that the past still lingered in the corners of the square. People moved with a mix of joy and hesitation, some exchanging glances that spoke volumes, others avoiding eye contact altogether. The work being done was not just about rebuilding structures, but about rebuilding relationships, one careful step at a time. Adrian and Serena exchanged a glance, both understanding that while the village was eager to celebrate their victory, the real work had only just begun. The curse had been lifted, but the scars of the past, the betrayals, the conflicts, the sacrifices, still marked their connections with the villagers. There were those who welcomed them with open arms, grateful for the role they had played in saving the reef, but there were also others who found it difficult to forget the mistakes that had been made. For every smile and handshake, there were quiet moments of avoidance, and in the eyes of some, the lingering doubt of whether true change had come. Adrian's hand subtly brushed Serena's, a silent gesture of solidarity as they both knew the journey ahead wasn't just about the physical repairs to the village. It was about mending the fragile bonds between them and the people they had once called allies. "I'm not sure where to start," Serena admitted, her voice tinged with uncertainty as she watched the bustling activity around them. The villagers were immersed in their work, some clearing debris, others setting up decorations for the evening feast. But Serena couldn't shake the feeling that the task ahead of them, rebuilding trust, was much more complicated than any physical repair. She stood with her arms crossed, her gaze flickering from one familiar face to another, each person a reminder of the distance that had grown between them during the chaos of the curse. For years, she had been bound to the reef, focused solely on its protection, and the bond she had once forged with the villagers had frayed, left to wither in her absence. Now, standing here, free from the curse, she felt the weight of the task ahead, reconnecting, apologizing, and most importantly, proving that the changes in her weren't just the result of the curse being lifted, but of the choices she was making now. Adrian, sensing her discomfort, placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch warm and reassuring. "We don't have to do it all at once," he said, his voice steady. "One conversation, one action at a time. The people who matter, the ones who want to rebuild with us, they'll be here." His words, simple but sincere, gave her a small sense of comfort. While she had been consumed by the need to protect the reef, Adrian had been a constant reminder that there was more to life than duty and sacrifice. He understood the weight of their past mistakes, but he also believed in their ability to make things right. With him by her side, she knew that, little by little, they could restore what had been broken, not just the physical spaces, but the connections they had lost. Serena let out a soft breath, her shoulders relaxing slightly. She knew that there was no perfect place to begin, no magical moment that would erase the hurt and skepticism lingering in the village. But maybe that was the point. There was no grand gesture to be made, no sweeping declaration that would suddenly fix everything. It would take patience, humility, and time. Serena turned her gaze to Adrian, finding a quiet strength in his unwavering support. "You're right," she said, a slow smile forming on her lips. "One step at a time." And with that, she knew that no matter how difficult the road ahead would be, she wasn't walking it alone. Adrian looked at her, his expression serious but reassuring, his gaze steady and full of understanding. "We start by acknowledging the past and showing that we're committed to making things right," he said, his voice firm yet gentle. "It's not just about what we say, but what we do." The weight of his words settled in the air between them, as if they were both seeing the path ahead clearly for the first time. The villagers might have been willing to celebrate the breaking of the curse, but the true work lay in rebuilding the fragile trust that had been lost during the years of the curse's grip. Serena knew that they couldn't undo the harm that had been done, but they could control how they moved forward, through their actions, their intentions, and their commitment to proving that the past didn't define their future. Serena absorbed his words, feeling the truth of them sink deep into her heart. She had always been a protector, but protection alone wouldn't heal the wounds left by the years of isolation and secrecy. She would have to show the villagers that she was not just a person who had once kept herself apart for their safety, but someone willing to be part of the community again, to share in its joys and struggles. With Adrian by her side, she realized that their journey wasn't just about undoing the curse. It was about creating something new, built on the foundation of accountability, sincerity, and patience. She nodded, her resolve strengthening. "You're right. It's time to show them who we are now." Serena nodded, taking a deep breath as she surveyed the busy village around them. The weight of the responsibility ahead was heavy, but it felt manageable with Adrian by her side. "Let's begin with the council," she suggested, her voice steady despite the uncertainty she felt. "They were instrumental in helping us understand the reef's secrets, but they were also deeply affected by the chaos we brought." The council had been their allies during the most intense parts of their journey, providing wisdom and guidance, but the consequences of their actions, their secrecy, their failure to share the truth sooner, had left a mark on their relationships with those who had trusted them. Serena knew that mending this bond would require not just words, but actions that proved their dedication to healing the wounds they had caused. Adrian turned toward her, his expression thoughtful as he nodded in agreement. They'll need to see that we're willing to listen, to understand their hurt and work with them to rebuild what was broken. The council's disappointment wasn't just about the past. It was about the fractured trust that had threatened to tear the village apart. As much as the council had played a pivotal role in uncovering the truth behind the curse, they too had been forced to make difficult decisions in the wake of the revelations. Serena felt a pang of guilt at the thought, but she also understood that facing them would be the first step toward proving their commitment to the community. With a firm resolve, she added, "We'll make it right, no matter how long it takes." The council hall was a modest yet inviting structure, its walls adorned with intricate carvings that depicted scenes from the village's history, tales of triumphs, struggles, and the deep connection to the sea that had shaped their lives. Warm hues of amber and gold filled the space, casting a gentle glow over the gathered members. The large wooden table at the center of the room, polished by years of use, stood as a symbol of both the unity and the divisions that had formed over time. As Adrian and Serena stepped inside, the quiet hum of conversation fell away, replaced by a heavy silence. The council members, veterans of many discussions, each with their own role in the village's leadership, looked up at them with expressions that betrayed a mix of curiosity, caution, and the lingering echoes of past grievances. Serena felt the weight of their gaze, but she met it with steady resolve. She had come to seek understanding, not to shy away from the consequences of their actions. The council had played a vital role in the history of the reef and the village, and she knew that restoring their trust was essential to the future they hoped to build. Adrian, standing beside her, mirrored her determination, though his stance was more reserved, understanding the delicate nature of the situation. The air in the room seemed thick with unspoken words, and Serena realized that this conversation, however difficult, was the first step toward healing. Adrian's voice resonated with sincerity as he addressed the council, his posture unwavering and respectful. He took a moment to let his words settle, aware of the gravity of the situation. "Thank you for meeting with us," he continued, his eyes sweeping over the room, meeting the gaze of each council member in turn. "We understand that our actions may have caused some friction and confusion, and for that, we deeply regret the turmoil we've brought upon this village and the reef. It was never our intention to create such division. We are here today to show our commitment to making amends and to assure you that our goal is to work alongside you to safeguard the future of the reef, which is the heart of our village." Serena stood quietly by his side, her presence a steady reassurance to both Adrian and the council. She could feel the weight of their history together, both the shared victories and the deep scars left by past misunderstandings. With each word spoken, she hoped to bridge the gap between them, to heal the wounds left in the wake of their earlier struggles. Her heart beat a little faster, the tension in the air palpable as they waited for the council's response. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but this was a necessary first step, a commitment to move forward, not as strangers, but as partners in the care of the reef and the community that depended on it. Elara's gaze was sharp, her eyes reflecting years of wisdom and experience. She leaned forward slightly, her hands resting on the table, fingers laced together in a quiet gesture of contemplation. Her voice, though measured, carried an undeniable weight, a reminder of her responsibility as the leader of the council. "We appreciate your honesty, Adrian, Serena," she began, her tone steady but not without a hint of caution. "Trust is a fragile thing. It's not easily restored, especially when it has been tested as it has. It takes time to mend what has been broken, and we have seen the damage that's been done. What steps are you prepared to take to restore it?" Her words hung in the air, a challenge and an invitation both, as she studied them closely, gauging their sincerity and resolve. Serena felt the weight of Elara's words, the council leader's scrutiny keen as a blade. This was a pivotal moment, not just for them, but for the future of the village and the reef they had fought so hard to protect. Serena's heart swelled with the desire to prove that they were committed, not just to the reef, but to the people who had stood by them through every trial. She glanced at Adrian, drawing strength from his steady presence. Together, they would face whatever it took to rebuild the trust that had been fractured. We're ready to put in the work, Serena replied, her voice firm and unwavering. We know it won't be easy, and it won't happen overnight. But we'll prove through our actions that we're committed to this village, to the reef, and to restoring the trust that was lost. Serena took a deep breath, stepping forward with a sense of resolve that matched the weight of her words. Her heart was heavy with the knowledge that the path to redemption would not be easy, but she was determined to face it head-on. As she spoke, her voice was steady, filled with an unwavering commitment to make things right. We're committed to being transparent and involved in the community, she said, her gaze sweeping over the council members, trying to convey the sincerity of her promise. We'll help with rebuilding efforts, support local projects, and ensure that the reef remains protected. We understand that words are only as strong as the actions that follow them, and we want to demonstrate through our efforts that we are trustworthy partners in this. Her eyes met Alara's, and for a moment, the council leader's steady gaze softened, as if considering the sincerity in Serena's voice. The room was quiet, the weight of Serena's words hanging in the air, a declaration of their willingness to rebuild not only the physical structures around them but the intangible bonds that had been strained. It was a promise to honor the community's values, to show that they were not just seeking forgiveness, but were genuinely dedicated to earning it through consistent, meaningful actions. Serena's heart pounded in her chest, but with each passing moment, she felt a growing sense of resolve. She and Adrian would stand by their words. Together, they would rebuild what had been broken, for the reef, for the village, and for each other. Alara's expression softened as she listened, the lines of concern on her face easing just slightly. Her gaze flicked from Serena to Adrian, and she nodded thoughtfully, weighing their words carefully. Actions speak louder than words, she said, her voice steady yet kind, as if understanding the gravity of their commitment. We'll hold you to your promises, and in time, trust may be restored. There was a quiet strength in her tone, a reminder that while the path ahead wouldn't be easy, it was not an impossible one. She wasn't offering forgiveness on the spot, but she was allowing room for them to prove themselves through the choices they made moving forward. Her words weren't an ultimatum but rather a challenge, one that placed the burden of rebuilding trust squarely on their shoulders. Serena felt a weight lift from her chest, replaced by a deep sense of responsibility. Alara's response was fair, demanding action rather than empty assurances. It was clear that the council was willing to give them a chance, but only if they followed through with their promises. Serena glanced at Adrian, her resolve strengthening. They had already faced the impossible together, and now they would face the hard work of mending broken relationships and rebuilding their reputation. She knew it wouldn't be quick or easy, but for the first time, she felt hopeful. With Adrian by her side, they would prove that their actions were true, that their intentions were genuine, and that the future they sought was one built on trust, understanding, and unwavering commitment. With Alara's words echoing in their minds, Adrian and Serena set to work, immersing themselves in the life of the village with unwavering determination. They rose early each morning to join the villagers in their daily tasks, lending a hand with the repairs to homes and the market stalls. The scent of freshly sawn wood and the hum of conversation filled the air as they worked alongside the community, showing their willingness to contribute in tangible ways. Serena, with her quiet but steady presence, helped sort through materials for rebuilding, while Adrian coordinated efforts with the other workers, ensuring that everything was done with care and efficiency. It wasn't just about physical labor. It was about being there, side by side with the people they had once distanced themselves from, proving they were no longer the outsiders they had once been. In the afternoons, they took the time to sit with the villagers, engaging in open conversations that ranged from concerns about the future of the reef to personal stories about the impact of the curse on their lives. Serena listened intently, her heart aching with the realization of how deep the ripples of their actions had gone. Adrian, ever the diplomat, shared their plans for safeguarding the reef, emphasizing their commitment to ensuring its protection and fostering a harmonious relationship between the village and the sea. As they spoke, there was an air of cautious hope in the village, a sense that maybe, just maybe, the path to rebuilding trust was already in motion. Through these small but meaningful exchanges, Adrian and Serena were beginning to show, one action at a time, that they were committed to earning back the trust they had once lost. Rebuilding trust was an arduous and slow process, one that tested Adrian and Serena's resolve at every turn. Some villagers, scarred by the chaos that had once enveloped their lives, held their doubts close, their eyes wary and their words laced with caution. There were moments when their efforts felt futile, when the weight of past mistakes seemed too heavy to shake off. At times, a tense silence would follow their proposals, and they could feel the skepticism lingering in the air, palpable and unwavering. But instead of retreating, Adrian and Serena remained steadfast. They never rushed the process, never demanded forgiveness. Instead, they listened with open hearts and gave the villagers the time they needed to come to terms with their past actions. With each passing day, their sincerity and willingness to invest in the community became clearer. Serena, with her gentle manner, offered assistance wherever needed, from lending a hand to the elderly to caring for the younger children while the parents worked. Adrian, ever the strategist, worked to ensure that the village's rebuilding efforts were well coordinated, tackling logistical challenges and supporting local projects. Slowly but surely, their consistent actions spoke louder than words. The barriers began to soften as the villagers witnessed their dedication and saw the sincerity in their eyes. Though there were still those who remained guarded, a quiet transformation was underway. Trust, once broken, was starting to be rebuilt, not in grand gestures, but in the small, daily choices that reflected their commitment to making things right. As they labored together, hammering nails into the wooden beams of the bridge, Adrian took a brief moment to pause, wiping the sweat from his brow. He glanced at Serena, who was focused on securing a plank, her expression one of quiet determination. The afternoon sun cast a golden light over the scene, and for a moment, the rhythmic sound of their work filled the air. Adrian's voice broke the silence, soft but thoughtful. "You know, this reminds me of our journey," he said, his gaze lingering on the half-built structure. "It's not just about the destination but about the steps we take along the way." He let the words hang in the air, his tone reflecting a deeper meaning that had come from the experiences they had shared, the battles they had fought, and the lessons they had learned together. Serena looked up at him, her hands momentarily still as she considered his words. The comparison struck a chord within her. Their journey had never been just about the end goal of breaking the curse or finding peace. It had always been about the moments in between, the choices they made, and the way they adapted to the challenges that arose. Every step they had taken had shaped who they were now, both as individuals and as partners. She smiled, her expression softening with a quiet understanding. "You're right," she agreed, her voice filled with conviction. "The steps along the way are what matter. And with each one, we're building something stronger, not just this bridge, but our future, piece by piece." They shared a look of mutual recognition, knowing that their work, both on the bridge and in their lives, was far from over, but with each passing day, they were building something lasting and true. Serena paused in her task, her eyes lifting to meet Adrian's as his words resonated within her. She wiped the dirt from her hands and allowed herself a moment of reflection, a small smile playing at the corner of her lips. The bridge they were repairing was more than just a physical structure. It was a symbol of their shared commitment to rebuilding not only the village, but also the trust that had been fractured. "Yes, and every small effort counts," she said, her voice steady with a quiet certainty. "It's about showing up and doing the work, even when it's hard." She looked back down at the plank in front of her, her hands gripping the hammer once more. Her words carried the weight of their journey, the trials they had faced, and the personal sacrifices they had made. Serena knew that nothing worth having came easily, and the path they were now walking, of restoring bonds and forging new beginnings, was no different. The village, much like their hearts, was in the process of healing, and it was through consistent, determined action that they would prove their devotion. With each nail they hammered into place, every conversation they shared with the villagers, and every act of service, they were stitching together the fabric of a future that was stronger than before. Serena's smile grew, a glimmer of hope in her eyes, knowing that this was only the beginning. As the days slowly turned into weeks, the steady rhythm of Adrian and Serena's efforts began to yield visible results. At first, the villagers had watched them with wary eyes, their skepticism hanging heavy in the air. But as time passed, it became clear that the pair was genuinely committed to restoring both the village and the trust that had been broken. The once cautious glances they received were gradually replaced by nods of acknowledgement, and the cold silence that had filled many interactions softened into more open, engaging conversations. Slowly but surely, the villagers started to recognize that Adrian and Serena weren't just passing through, they were invested in their community's future, eager to contribute and rebuild alongside them. The shift was subtle at first, but it was undeniable. Where once there had been murmurs of doubt, there was now a budding sense of collaboration. In the marketplace, people began to approach them not with suspicion, but with suggestions, questions, and a willingness to work together. The tension that had once defined the atmosphere had been replaced with a new energy, one built on the shared goal of creating something lasting and meaningful. It wasn't a perfect reconciliation, but it was progress, genuine, hard-won progress. Adrian and Serena could see the change in the villagers' faces, the way they no longer looked at them as outsiders, but as trusted partners in the community's recovery. The evening air was filled with the sounds of laughter and lively conversation as the village gathered for their celebratory feast. The long wooden tables were laden with food, and lanterns flickered warmly against the twilight. As the crowd settled, Alara stood at the front of the gathering, her presence commanding yet gentle. She raised her glass high, her eyes meeting those of Adrian and Serena. The room fell silent in anticipation as she spoke, her voice carrying over the hum of the evening. To Adrian and Serena, who have shown us that true change comes from within and through dedication. May we continue to build a future together, grounded in trust and mutual respect. Her words rang clear, carrying both recognition and hope, marking a pivotal moment in the village's journey toward healing. Adrian and Serena exchanged a glance, the weight of the moment settling in their hearts. The cheers that followed Alara's toast filled the air, a chorus of voices expressing not just approval, but acceptance. It was a powerful moment, one that symbolized not only the physical rebuilding of the village, but the restoration of the relationships they had worked so hard to mend. As they raised their glasses in return, Serena's heart swelled with gratitude, while Adrian stood tall, a quiet sense of pride radiating from him. This toast was more than just a celebration of their efforts. It was a testament to the bond that had been forged between them and the community, and to the future they would now build together, side by side. The applause echoed through the village, the clapping of hands a sound of collective acceptance and appreciation. Adrian and Serena stood there, momentarily frozen in the midst of the celebration, overwhelmed by the warmth of the moment. The cheers were not just for them, but for the community as a whole, for the work they had all put in to rebuild trust and restore harmony. Serena's eyes glistened with emotion as she looked at Adrian, feeling a deep sense of relief wash over her. The journey had been long and fraught with challenges, but here, in this moment, they were finally seeing the fruits of their labor. It wasn't just a celebration of what they had accomplished, but a recognition of what they were now capable of, together. Adrian's gaze met Serena's, and for a brief moment, the bustling celebration around them faded into the background. There, in each other's eyes, they saw not only the hardships they had faced but the promise of a future they could now shape. The wounds of the past, though deep, were beginning to heal, and with each passing day, they were building a new foundation, one rooted in trust, mutual respect, and love. The weight of their past mistakes had not disappeared entirely, but they had proven that they were willing to face the consequences and make amends. Now, standing in the glow of the village's approval, they could finally look forward to a future where their bond, and the community's trust, would be the cornerstone of everything they would build together. As the sounds of laughter and conversation filled the air, Adrian and Serena stood quietly at the edge of the feast, their fingers intertwined in a simple yet powerful gesture of connection. The lively atmosphere around them contrasted with the stillness they shared in that moment, a moment of reflection on all that they had endured together. The journey that had once seemed overwhelming now felt like a distant memory, its hardships softened by the progress they had made. While the road ahead still held challenges, the weight of their past seemed lighter, and in its place was a sense of purpose, a shared vision for what they could create moving forward. Serena glanced up at Adrian, her heart full as she took in the sight of the village, alive with hope and celebration. The same community that had once doubted them now embraced them, and though their work was far from over, they both knew that the trust they had worked so hard to rebuild was beginning to take root. The future felt promising, not because it was free of obstacles, but because they no longer had to face it alone. Together, they had forged a new beginning, one that would be defined by the choices they made, the love they shared, and the unshakable bond that had only grown stronger with time. Rebuilding trust had been a journey fraught with difficulty, but the rewards were immeasurable. Every step forward had required patience, humility, and unwavering dedication. There had been moments of doubt, when the weight of past mistakes seemed too heavy to overcome, but through consistent actions and open-hearted efforts, they had demonstrated that they were more than the sum of their failures. Adrian and Serena's commitment to the village was not just a series of promises, but a tangible effort to rebuild what had been broken, whether through lending a hand with repairs, listening to the concerns of those they had hurt, or simply being present when needed. With each passing day, their actions spoke louder than any apology could, slowly eroding the skepticism and replacing it with something more enduring: trust. The process had also allowed them to grow as individuals, deepening their understanding of what it meant to truly contribute to something larger than themselves. The village, once a symbol of their mistakes, had become a reflection of their progress, a place where they had not only helped heal others, but had begun to heal themselves. The sense of belonging they now felt was hard-earned, and the knowledge that they were no longer viewed as outsiders but as vital members of the community filled them with a quiet pride. They had shown that redemption was not about erasing the past, but about acknowledging it, learning from it, and forging a new path forward. And as they stood side by side, knowing the work was far from over, they were ready to continue building that brighter future, hand in hand. As the first stars appeared, twinkling against the deepening dusk, Adrian and Serena stood side by side, feeling the quiet weight of the moment. The horizon stretched out before them, limitless and full of promise. The trials they had faced, the mistakes they had made, and the redemption they had earned had all led them here, to this peaceful evening, where the weight of the past no longer hung over them. They had laid the foundation for something new, something hopeful. And though the future would undoubtedly hold its own set of challenges, they no longer feared it. Together, they had learned the value of perseverance, understanding, and mutual support. Their journey had taught them that with trust, dedication, and love, they could overcome whatever obstacles lay ahead. In the quiet of the evening, the sounds of the village celebration still faintly echoed in the background, but their focus was now firmly on what came next. They had rebuilt not only their relationship with the community but also with themselves, each day proving to be a step forward, no matter how small. Serena rested her head on Adrian's shoulder, feeling a deep sense of peace settle within her. Their shared dreams of exploration and a life without the weight of curses or unspoken burdens now seemed within reach. With their bond as strong as ever, they knew that no matter what came next, they would face it hand in hand. The future was theirs to shape, and as long as they stood together, there was no limit to the possibilities they could create. Chapter 42: The Reef's Restoration. The early morning light gently bathed the world in soft shades of gold and pink, casting a serene glow over the peaceful shoreline. Adrian and Serena stood together, their feet sinking slightly into the cool sand as they gazed out at the reef before them. The waters, once darkened by the curse, now shimmered in the quiet of dawn, each wave reflecting the first light of the day like 1,000 diamonds scattered across the surface. The Heartstone, once a symbol of chaos and unrest, pulsed gently at the center of the reef, its magic fully restored. The vibrant energy that had returned to the sea mirrored the calm that had taken root in their hearts. The storm of their past seemed far behind them now, replaced by a renewed sense of peace that filled the air. Serena felt the weight of the past lifting as she stood by Adrian, the warm sunlight caressing her face. There was something profoundly humbling about this moment, a moment of stillness after the storm. The reef, once shrouded in uncertainty, now exuded a quiet strength, as though it, too, had found a way to heal. The magic of the Heartstone, so deeply entwined with the land and the sea, had restored balance, bringing a newfound harmony to both the natural world and their lives. As the gentle waves lapped at the shore, Serena felt a sense of gratitude surge within her. for the journey that had brought them here and for the promise of what lay ahead. Together, they had faced the darkness and emerged into the light, ready to embrace a future of their own making. The reef, once shrouded in shadow and mystery, now thrived with an explosion of color and life. Coral formations, long dulled by the oppressive weight of the curse, had blossomed into radiant displays of pink, orange, and turquoise, their intricate shapes shimmering in the soft morning light. The vibrant hues painted the sea floor like an artist's canvas, transforming the once muted waters into a dynamic masterpiece. Schools of fish darted through the crystal-clear waters, their scales catching the light in a dazzling array of silver and gold, moving together in graceful synchrony. Beneath the surface, the seaweed waved gently in the current, adding a soft, verdant contrast to the lively colors of the coral and fish. The underwater landscape, now teeming with activity, had become a living testament to the restoration of balance. The once turbulent waters, which had held secrets and danger, were now calm and peaceful, a symbol of the healing that had taken place. Every movement in the water, from the swaying of the seaweed to the playful dance of the fish, spoke of a new beginning, one where the reef, once silenced by the curse, had found its voice again. "It's beautiful," Serena whispered, her voice filled with awe as she took in the breathtaking transformation before her. Her gaze swept across the vibrant coral, the shimmering schools of fish, and the soft sway of the seaweed. It was as though the entire reef had come to life, breathing in a new sense of peace and vibrancy. The colors, once muted and dull, now glowed with an energy that felt almost magical. Serena's eyes sparkled with a mixture of wonder and relief, her heart swelling with the realization that this was the future she and Adrian had fought for, a future where the reef could thrive again, free from the curse that had once weighed it down. As she continued to watch the reef, Serena felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The sight before her was a testament to everything they had overcome, the hardships they had endured, and the sacrifices they had made. She had always known how much the reef meant to her, but now, seeing it restored, she understood just how much it had meant to all of them. "I can't believe how much it's changed," she murmured, her voice soft but filled with a profound sense of accomplishment. The transformation was not just physical, it symbolized the healing of not only the reef but also the journey she and Adrian had taken together, a journey that had brought them to this moment of peace and renewal. Adrian nodded, his eyes lingering on the vibrant, thriving reef as a sense of deep satisfaction washed over him. It was almost surreal, watching the once dying ecosystem come back to life before his very eyes. The curse that had suffocated the reef for so long had been lifted, and now the waters were clear, the corals blooming in shades of vivid pinks, oranges, and blues. Schools of fish darted through the water, their movements fluid and graceful, a stark contrast to the stillness that had once pervaded the sea. The transformation was nothing short of miraculous, and Adrian could hardly believe how much it had changed in such a short time. "It's incredible to see the reef thriving again," Adrian said, his voice filled with reverence as he took in the scene. His heart swelled with pride and a sense of peace, knowing that their hard-fought victory had led to this moment. The weight of the curse had been oppressive, not just on the reef, but on everything that depended on it, the village, the people, even the creatures of the sea. Now, with the Heartstone's magic restored, the entire ecosystem seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Adrian's gaze softened as he looked at Serena, sharing this moment with her, knowing that together, they had brought about something truly remarkable. Together, they had poured their hearts and souls into restoring balance to the reef, their every effort a testament to their shared determination and unwavering resolve. The trials they had faced, from the dangers of the cursed waters to the personal sacrifices they had made, had been grueling, but they had not been in vain. The coral, once lifeless and gray under the weight of the curse, had begun to regenerate, its vibrant hues slowly returning as the reef regained its vitality. Each day, they could see the changes, the way the sea seemed to pulse with renewed life, the way the creatures of the ocean swam more freely, no longer constrained by the dark forces that had once plagued them. The magical energy that had been corrupted and distorted for so long was now flowing freely again, a pure current that nurtured the marine life dependent on it. It was a slow, steady process, but one that filled them both with awe as they saw the effects of their hard work unfold. The reef was no longer a place of danger and uncertainty. It was becoming a sanctuary once more, a living testament to the strength of their bond and the power of their commitment. With each passing day, Serena and Adrian knew they were witnessing something extraordinary, a restoration not just of the reef, but of the hope and peace that had once seemed lost forever. As they waded into the shallow waters, Serena couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder as she watched the underwater world come alive around them. The once muted creatures of the reef were now vibrant and full of energy, responding to the restored balance in ways that felt almost instinctive. She pointed toward a group of sea turtles gliding effortlessly through the clear waters, their movements fluid and graceful. "Look at how the creatures are responding," she said, her voice filled with awe. "They seem more active, more vibrant. It's as if they're celebrating the return of the magic." The turtles, their shells a mosaic of green and amber, swam in synchronized patterns, their large eyes glimmering with a sense of peace. It was as though the entire ecosystem was waking from a long, dark slumber, and the creatures were expressing their joy at the return of the magic that once sustained them. The water felt alive with energy, the colors of the coral even brighter, and the fish swam with a newfound vigor, their scales catching the light like precious jewels. Serena's heart swelled with gratitude and amazement, knowing that all their efforts had led to this beautiful, flourishing moment. It was a new chapter for the reef, and for them, as its stewards and protectors. Adrian smiled as he watched the turtles glide by, his heart swelling with pride. The transformation before him felt like the culmination of everything they had worked for, the culmination of their sacrifices, their struggles, and their unwavering dedication. "It's a testament to the power of healing and restoration," he said softly, his voice filled with awe. "The reef was always a part of something larger, and now that it's been freed from the curse, it's reclaiming its place in the world." The vibrant colors, the thriving marine life, and the renewed energy flowing through the water all felt like proof of the resilience of nature and the enduring strength of the magical forces that had once been corrupted. As the waves gently lapped at their ankles, Adrian felt a deep sense of fulfillment settle within him. This was no longer just a victory over a curse, it was a restoration of balance, a reconnection with the world's natural beauty, and a renewal of life itself. The reef, once a place shrouded in darkness and burdened by the weight of the curse, now radiated with life, its vibrancy a reflection of the healing they had brought. Adrian could feel the magic pulsing through the water, steady and steadying, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, there was peace. Together, they had restored not only the reef, but their sense of purpose, and now, they could look ahead to a future where both could thrive. They continued their journey through the reef, taking in the breathtaking changes that surrounded them. The once sickly anemones, which had once appeared limp and lifeless, now bloomed in vibrant shades of pink, purple, and yellow, their tentacles undulating with a renewed energy. It was as if the very pulse of the reef had quickened, infusing the marine life with a newfound vitality. Sea fans, their delicate fronds swaying gently in the currents, seemed to dance in synchrony with the rhythm of the water, creating a mesmerizing spectacle of movement and color. The transformation was beyond anything they had imagined, a living testament to the power of their efforts and the restoration of the balance that had been lost for so long. The entire ecosystem seemed to be rejoicing in the newfound harmony, a sense of peace radiating from every corner of the reef. Schools of fish, once scattered and frantic, now swam in organized formations, their shimmering scales reflecting the sunlight that filtered through the water's surface. Even the smaller creatures, crabs scuttling along the seabed, seahorses drifting lazily among the kelp, seemed to thrive in the rejuvenated environment. It was a sight unlike any other, a powerful reminder of the delicate interconnection between all living things. As Serena and Adrian navigated the waters, they could feel the magic of the reef surrounding them, vibrant and alive, a force that they had fought to protect and now saw flourishing before their eyes. As they ventured deeper into the reef, the water around them grew cooler, and the sounds of the bustling marine life faded into a gentle hush. They soon arrived at a secluded grotto, a hidden sanctuary where the heart stone lay nestled at the center of the shimmering cavern. The stone's glow had intensified since their last visit, its light now radiating with a soft but powerful energy that filled the grotto with an ethereal radiance. The once muted aura that had surrounded it was now full of life, its pulsing light creating patterns across the walls of the cave, as if the very stone itself was breathing in sync with the reef. The tranquility of the space felt like a warm embrace, the magic of the stone intertwining with the rejuvenated waters around it, creating a harmonious atmosphere that seemed to echo the balance they had restored. Serena stepped forward, her gaze fixed on the heart stone as she knelt beside it. She reached out with a trembling hand, her fingers brushing gently against the smooth surface of the stone. The warmth she felt radiated through her touch, a soothing, comforting sensation that seemed to hum with the magic of the reef itself. It was a connection unlike any other, a deep, unspoken bond that transcended the physical world. As her hand lingered on the stone, a sense of peace washed over her, reaffirming the incredible power of the transformation they had fought so hard for. The Heartstone, once the source of darkness, was now a symbol of hope, its light reflecting the journey they had taken together, and the future they would continue to build. "This place," Serena said softly, her voice filled with awe as she gazed around the grotto. "It's more than just a sanctuary now. It's a symbol of hope and renewal." Her eyes traced the contours of the Heartstone, its vibrant glow casting a calming light over her features. She could feel the profound transformation not just in the waters but in herself, a deep sense of accomplishment and peace washing over her. The air in the grotto was thick with the magic they had restored, and as she looked at the flourishing life surrounding the stone, she realized that the reef, and everything it represented, had been reborn. The dark shadows of the curse that had once plagued this sacred space were now gone, replaced by a sense of purity and balance that seemed to resonate with every breath she took. "We've given it a new lease on life," she continued, her voice a mix of reverence and quiet pride. As she spoke, her gaze shifted to the thriving marine life that now flourished in the waters. Vibrant fish darted between the coral, and colorful sea plants swayed in the current, as if in joyful celebration. Serena felt a deep, unspoken connection to this place, to the magic that had been so heavily bound by the curse, and to the way their efforts had changed its fate. They had not only freed the Heartstone but had also given the reef a chance to thrive once more. This was no longer just the site of their struggle, but a living testament to the power of healing, a reminder of the strength they had found together. Adrian stood beside Serena, his gaze fixed on the Heartstone, as its soft glow illuminated his face with a serene light. "We've done something truly remarkable here," he said, his voice filled with a quiet reverence. His eyes lingered on the shimmering waters, watching the steady flow of life returning to the reef. The once dying coral had transformed into vibrant formations, teeming with color, while the sea creatures swam gracefully through the clear, revived waters. He could feel the weight of their journey in every inch of the reef's restoration, and yet there was a deep sense of peace in the moment. This was more than just a victory for them. It was a symbol of the potential for growth and renewal in the face of adversity. "And while the reef's restoration is a testament to our efforts," Adrian continued, his voice softening, "it's also a reminder of the resilience and beauty of nature. Even after so much darkness, it can find its way back to light." His words held a sense of awe, as if the very magic of the Heartstone had seeped into his soul, reminding him of the quiet strength inherent in the world around them. He thought of how they had fought against the curse, how they had worked together to break it, and now, seeing the reef bloom once again, it felt as though they, too, had found their own renewal. The darkness had not only lifted from the reef but from within them, leaving space for new hope, new beginnings. As they stepped out of the grotto, the transformation of the reef became even more evident. The waters around them were alive with the sounds of dolphins, their cheerful chirps echoing through the crystal-clear water as they playfully darted between the coral formations. Manta rays glided gracefully just beneath the surface, their wide, elegant wings sweeping through the water like silent, floating shadows. The once still, dim waters were now teeming with movement, every inch of the reef filled with vibrant activity. The atmosphere felt different, charged with the energy of renewal. The underwater world, once burdened by a curse, had come back to life, and it was as if the very heartbeat of the sea had quickened, pulsing with vigor. The colors of the reef were more vivid than ever before. Bright blues and greens of the seaweed swaying in the current, golden flashes of schools of fish weaving through the coral, and the brilliant hues of newly blooming anemones casting soft, colorful glows on the sandy floor below. Serena and Adrian moved slowly through the water, awed by the display of life around them. It was as though the entire ecosystem had been reborn, a harmonious symphony of creatures, plants, and energy all working together to restore balance. The world they had fought to protect was no longer a place of shadow or uncertainty. It was thriving, beautiful, and alive in a way they had once only dreamed of. Serena and Adrian stepped onto the warm sand, their hearts still racing from the exhilarating sense of accomplishment that pulsed through them. The water glistened on their skin as they took a moment to catch their breath, gazing out at the reef that had transformed before their eyes. The once muted colors were now vibrant and full of life, and the energy in the air was palpable, as if the very earth beneath their feet was celebrating the restoration they had brought about. The sea breeze tousled their hair, and the sound of the waves crashing gently against the shore seemed to echo the harmony that now filled the waters. A sense of pride and peace settled over them as they stood side by side, hand in hand, knowing that their journey, both the trials they had faced and the victory they had won, was one that would change everything for the better. As the sun climbed higher, its golden rays bathed the landscape in a warm, almost ethereal light. The glistening waters of the reef shimmered, casting ripples of light across the horizon. The coral, now pulsing with life, seemed to glow in the morning sun, as if to acknowledge the healing that had taken place. Serena's eyes lingered on the peaceful scene before them, feeling a deep sense of contentment wash over her. Beside her, Adrian stood tall, his expression one of quiet satisfaction as he watched the world around them transform. This moment, this stillness, was a testament to the bond they had forged and the changes they had set in motion. Together, they had not only restored the reef but had given it, and themselves, a future that was as boundless and promising as the ocean stretching out before them. Serena's voice carried the weight of her emotions, a gentle mixture of relief and optimism as she gazed out at the vibrant reef before them. The transformation they had witnessed felt nothing short of miraculous, but it was more than just the restoration of the coral and marine life. It was a renewal of the life they would now build together. The air seemed fresher, the sky clearer, and the future stretched out before them like an open sea, full of promise. It wasn't just the reef that had been healed. Something deep within her had shifted as well, and she could feel a sense of peace settling into her heart. Their struggles had brought them to this point, and now they were ready to embrace the world with newfound strength and clarity. Adrian turned to her, his eyes reflecting the same sense of wonder and possibility. The journey that had brought them here, filled with trials and sacrifice, had forged a bond between them that was unbreakable. And just as the reef had rebounded from its curse, so too had their lives. They were no longer defined by the shadows of the past but by the hope they had rekindled through their actions. "It is a new beginning," he agreed, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. "For the reef, yes, but for us as well. We've come through the storm, and now we can set our own course." Together, they stood at the edge of the shore, ready to face whatever the future held, knowing that no matter the challenges ahead, they had each other, and the entire world, waiting for them. Adrian's gaze lingered on the shimmering waters, the reflection of the sun's golden rays dancing across the surface. His mind was full of possibilities, the weight of their journey slowly lifting. The reef, now vibrant and thriving, was a testament to their perseverance and the sacrifices they had made to restore balance. But the work didn't end with the reef. It was only the beginning of something much larger. He could feel the excitement bubbling inside him, the chance to create a life that was entirely their own, one not defined by past mistakes or curses. With Serena by his side, they had the opportunity to shape a future that was filled with hope, trust, and mutual respect. The world ahead was wide open, and it was theirs to explore. He turned to Serena, a soft smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "Together, we'll build something meaningful," he said, his voice filled with quiet resolve. "This isn't just about restoring what was lost. It's about creating something that lasts, something that's rooted in the love and strength we've found in each other." The challenges they had faced had only strengthened their bond, and now, with the past behind them, the future held endless potential. As they stood there on the shore, surrounded by the vibrant life of the reef, Adrian knew that no matter what came next, they would face it side by side, ready to craft a new story together. The restoration of the reef, a monumental achievement, was not merely the conclusion of their trials but the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. The vibrant, flourishing ecosystem before them symbolized not just the healing of a once dying world but also the deep transformation they had undergone. The weight of past mistakes and the darkness that had once clouded their path had been lifted, leaving behind a sense of clarity and purpose. The sacrifices they had made, the battles they had fought, and the trust they had rebuilt were all reflected in the shimmering waters of the reef. It was a testament to their resilience, to their ability to overcome even the greatest of challenges. But now, as they stood there together, the promise of a brighter future stretched before them, full of untold possibilities. Serena and Adrian shared a quiet understanding, their hearts in sync as they took in the scene before them. Though the reef had been restored, their journey was far from over. The world was vast, and with every step they took, they would continue to face new challenges and discoveries. But they were no longer the same individuals who had set out on this journey. They had forged a bond that no trial could break, and with it, they felt a renewed sense of purpose. The road ahead would be unpredictable, but it was theirs to navigate together. With the reef as their foundation, they knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it side by side, ready to build a future as vibrant and enduring as the world they had helped restore. Side by side, Adrian and Serena made a silent promise to each other and to the reef. Their commitment to its protection went beyond the immediate task of healing. It was a lifelong dedication to ensuring that the magic of the waters would remain undisturbed. They had witnessed the incredible transformation firsthand, how the once dying reef had blossomed back to life with vibrant colors and renewed energy. They knew that this newfound balance was fragile, and their responsibility was to safeguard it for the future. Together, they would continue to nurture the delicate ecosystem, ensuring that its magic would not only survive but thrive for years to come. Every action they took, every decision they made, would be with the reef's well-being in mind, ensuring that its beauty and vitality would remain a testament to their shared efforts. As they stood on the shore, watching the sunlight dance across the water, a deep sense of fulfillment settled over them. The challenges they had faced, the mistakes they had overcome, and the bond they had forged had brought them to this moment of peace. Looking out over the sparkling expanse, they understood the significance of what they had accomplished. Their efforts had sparked a transformation not just in the reef, but in themselves and in the community they had helped rebuild. The magic of the Heartstone, now fully restored, would continue to inspire and awe those who came after them. The ripple effect of their work would resonate through generations, a legacy of resilience, love, and dedication to the preservation of a world that held both beauty and power. With the reef flourishing and the vibrant colors of the coral reflecting the golden rays of the sun, Adrian and Serena felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The magic that had once been tainted and corrupted now flowed freely, a symbol of the work they had put in to restore balance and harmony. Their hearts were brimming with hope as they stood together, knowing that their journey had not only healed the reef but also transformed them. The past struggles, the sacrifices, and the challenges they had faced were no longer sources of regret but powerful reminders of their resilience. The reef before them was a living testament to their efforts, a place of beauty and strength where life had once again found its way. It was proof that no matter how dark or dire the circumstances, there was always the possibility of healing and growth. Looking out at the sparkling waters, Adrian and Serena embraced the future with renewed optimism. The road ahead, though uncertain, felt full of promise, knowing that they had the power to shape it with the lessons they had learned. They understood now, more than ever, that growth wasn't just about the destination, it was about the journey itself. The challenges they had overcome had not only strengthened their bond but had also deepened their understanding of what it meant to protect and nurture the world around them. Together, they would continue to safeguard the reef, knowing that it would remain a constant reminder of their shared strength and their unyielding belief in the potential for renewal. The future was wide open, and with each new day, they would meet it head-on, confident in their ability to create a lasting legacy of hope and transformation. Chapter 43. A New Mission. The early morning sun bathed the harbor in a warm, golden glow as Adrian and Serena stood side by side at the edge of the dock. The rhythmic sound of the gentle waves lapping against the wooden posts beneath them filled the air, but their attention was drawn to the vast horizon stretching out before them. The reef's restoration had been a monumental chapter in their lives, one filled with hard-earned victories and personal transformation. Yet, despite the sense of fulfillment they felt from their work, the stillness of the moment revealed a deeper yearning within them both. The world beyond the quiet village and the once dying reef now seemed full of possibility, brimming with uncharted lands and unexplored realms that beckoned with the promise of new discoveries. Serena's gaze softened as she watched the light shimmer across the water, her heart stirred by the unspoken promise of adventure. The challenges they had faced together had strengthened their bond, and now, that strength fueled their shared desire to venture into the unknown. The horizon no longer seemed distant or out of reach. It was a gateway, one that invited them to explore the mysteries of the world and continue their journey of growth and discovery. With each passing moment, the future felt more vibrant, a canvas waiting to be painted with new experiences. The restoration of the reef had been just the beginning, and as they stood together at the edge of this new chapter, both Adrian and Serena felt a renewed sense of purpose, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them beyond the harbor and into the vast, mysterious world ahead. The Seafarer, Adrian's beloved ship, was moored proudly at the dock, its sturdy frame shining in the early morning light. The sails, freshly mended and trimmed with care, stood tall against the breeze, a silent promise of the many adventures that lay ahead. Its hull gleamed with a fresh coat of varnish, reflecting the sun's rays with a polished gleam, as if eager to feel the tug of the sea once more. The ship had seen its fair share of storms and triumphs, and yet it stood strong, ready to carry Adrian into new waters, as if the sea itself had become part of its very essence. Every line, every rope, spoke of the history it had shared with its captain, a history that was now about to expand with the new horizon they both longed to chase. Beside it, Serena's new vessel, the Ariel, rested with an air of quiet grace. Its sleek, white design shimmered under the light, its smooth, polished wood and billowing sails giving it an aura of elegance and speed. The Ariel was more than just a ship, it was a symbol of new beginnings, a vessel equipped with everything they would need for their upcoming expedition. Every detail had been carefully chosen, sturdy, yet light enough to glide swiftly across the waves, with ample storage for supplies and provisions. As Serena walked along its deck, running her fingers over the cool, polished wood, she felt a sense of pride swell within her. This ship, alongside Adrian's, would carry them both into the unknown, an extension of their shared dream to explore the vast seas and uncover the secrets that awaited them beyond the horizon. Together, these ships represented the next chapter of their journey, bound for discovery and adventure. Adrian turned to Serena, his face alight with a spark of excitement that mirrored the early morning sun. His eyes gleamed with the thrill of anticipation, as though the vast ocean stretched before them, calling out with the promise of uncharted lands and new horizons. "It's been a while since we've set out on a proper adventure," he said, his voice tinged with enthusiasm. "The maps are spread out, and there's so much of the world left to explore." His fingers hovered over the edges of the weathered charts they had laid out on the wooden table, tracing the outlines of distant islands and unknown territories that beckoned to them. The air around them was thick with the scent of salt and adventure, as though the very wind carried whispers of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Serena glanced over the maps, her gaze steady and focused as she studied the intricate lines and landmarks drawn across the paper. She could feel the familiar surge of excitement in her chest, the same feeling that had accompanied their first journey together. The sense of discovery was palpable, a tangible force that urged them to leave behind the safety of the known world and venture into the unpredictable unknown. "We've seen so much, but there's so much more out there," she replied, her voice rich with the promise of what lay ahead. "Every map, every route tells a story of a place waiting to be uncovered." The thought of what they could find, the places that had yet to be explored, filled her with a sense of awe and determination. Together, they would sail into these uncharted waters, forging a path toward new adventures and endless possibilities. Serena smiled, her face glowing in the soft embrace of the morning light. The sunlight danced across her features, highlighting the warmth in her expression as she looked out at the horizon. Her eyes, filled with a quiet sense of wonder, reflected the excitement bubbling within her. "I've been dreaming of this moment," she said, her voice soft but filled with anticipation. "There are so many places I've only heard about in legends and tales. Now we have the chance to discover them ourselves." The thought of venturing into those mysterious lands, once only imagined in stories, sent a thrill through her, igniting a spark of possibility. Every whisper of an unknown island or a forgotten shore now felt tangible, within their reach. The idea of uncovering ancient mysteries, of seeing the world through the lens of first-hand experience, filled Serena with a sense of purpose. Each legend she had grown up with, each myth told by sailors and wanderers, now took on new meaning. She felt as though the world was opening up to them, and every turn of the sea, every gust of wind, would bring them closer to something extraordinary. The adventure ahead was no longer just a dream, but a tangible reality. Her heart quickened at the thought, and she knew that with Adrian by her side, there was nothing beyond their grasp. Together, they would chart their own course, creating their own legends as they sailed into the unknown. They had spent weeks preparing for this journey, every detail meticulously planned. The once bustling harbor had become a flurry of activity, with crates of supplies being loaded onto their ships and ropes being tightened for the voyage ahead. Serena and Adrian had scoured ancient maps, piecing together fragmented routes and legends passed down by travelers from distant lands. Long nights were spent studying the stars, charting the best paths through uncharted waters. The anticipation in the air was thick, filled with the promise of adventure as they prepared to set sail. Every decision, from securing provisions to outfitting their vessels, had been made with a singular focus: to embark on a journey unlike any other, one that would carry them beyond the shores they knew. Now, standing on the dock with the ships ready to depart, the weight of their preparations was tangible, but so was the excitement of what lay ahead. The time had come to leave behind the familiar, the safety of their village, and venture into the unknown. This journey was no longer just about breaking curses or restoring balance, but about embracing the thrill of exploration, the joy of discovering new worlds. The sense of possibility hung in the air, as vast as the open sea before them. They weren't just setting sail for distant lands, they were stepping into a new chapter of their lives, filled with untold wonders and the exhilarating unknown. The horizon stretched endlessly before them, a symbol of freedom and endless potential. As Adrian and Serena boarded their ships, a wave of emotion washed over the docks. The crew, their faces a blend of anticipation and pride, stood ready to set sail alongside them, while the villagers gathered in small groups along the waterfront, waving and offering their heartfelt farewells. The sounds of soft chatter and laughter mingled with the gentle lapping of the waves against the hulls of the ships. A few villagers clutched small tokens or trinkets, gifts for the journey, while others stood in quiet reflection, knowing that this departure was more than just the start of an adventure. It was the end of an era for the village, a time when the presence of Adrian and Serena, the guardians of the reef, had grounded their lives. Their absence would be felt deeply, but there was also a shared understanding that this was a necessary step forward, a new chapter not just for the two adventurers, but for the entire community. The air on the docks was thick with a mix of excitement and melancholy, as the villagers whispered their well wishes, some offering prayers for a safe journey, others simply nodding in silent understanding. Adrian and Serena exchanged smiles, their hearts heavy yet full of gratitude. The horizon that awaited them was filled with promise, but they couldn't ignore the bittersweet feeling of leaving behind the place that had been their home. As the last of the goodbyes were spoken and the ships began to pull away from the dock, there was a collective sense of change in the air. It was a farewell to the familiar and a step into the unknown, and yet, even amidst the sadness of parting, there was an undercurrent of hope. The village would remain strong, and the bond they shared with those they left behind would endure, no matter where their journey took them. Elara, the council leader, made her way through the gathered crowd, her steps purposeful and steady. As she reached Adrian and Serena, her warm smile radiated a quiet strength. her eyes reflecting a deep sense of pride. She placed a hand on Serena's shoulder, then turned to Adrian, offering a gesture of solidarity. "May your journey be filled with discovery and wonder," she said, her voice calm but filled with sincerity. "The world is vast, and there are many secrets waiting to be uncovered." Her words carried an almost ethereal weight, as though she understood the gravity of what lay ahead for them both. Her presence was a reminder of the village's enduring support, of the home they had left behind and the people they would carry with them in their hearts. Serena and Adrian exchanged glances, feeling the weight of Alara's words settle within them. The world beyond the reef was indeed vast, filled with mysteries and unknowns that beckoned them forward. Alara's blessing was a reminder that their journey was not just a personal one but one shared with all those who believed in them. As she stepped back, her gaze unwavering, she added with a touch of affection, "We'll be here, cheering you on." There was an unspoken promise in her words, a promise that no matter how far they traveled, the council and the village would remain rooted in their corner, their voices rising with hope and encouragement. With that, Alara turned, joining the others as the ship slowly began to drift away, but her presence lingered, a symbol of the steadfast support that would carry Adrian and Serena through the unknown. Adrian and Serena both felt a swell of emotion as Alara's words settled in their hearts. They exchanged a quiet, grateful glance before turning back to the council leader. "Thank you, Alara," Adrian said, his voice thick with sincerity. Serena nodded, her eyes softening with unspoken thanks. They had fought so much to reach this point, and the journey ahead, though filled with excitement, was equally daunting. The knowledge that their departure wasn't just a solitary step but one taken with the love and support of their community made it all the more meaningful. It was a reminder that no matter how far they sailed, they were never truly alone. The bonds they had forged in the village would always anchor them, guiding them even through the darkest waters. The weight of gratitude settled in their hearts, and both felt a deep appreciation for the way their world had shifted from one of uncertainty to one filled with hope. They had started as outsiders in the village, but now they were leaving as trusted allies, respected and loved by the people they had fought so hard to protect. The blessings of their friends, the hopes of the village, and the unshakable belief that they were destined for something greater lingered in the air like a warm embrace. As the ships began to move, Serena felt a sense of peace settle within her, a peace rooted in the knowledge that the path ahead, though unknown, was theirs to walk together, supported by the strength of all who believed in them. With a final wave to their friends and allies on the shore, Adrian and Serena felt a sense of bittersweet farewell as their ships began to drift away from the harbor. The sails of both the Seafarer and the Ariel billowed in the wind, catching the breeze with ease as they cut through the waves, their sturdy hulls gliding smoothly over the water. The rhythmic sound of the waves against the ship's sides created a comforting cadence, marking the beginning of their new journey. The harbor, with its familiar landmarks and bustling village, slowly faded into the distance, and the vastness of the open ocean spread out before them, a shimmering expanse that seemed to stretch on forever. As they sailed farther from the shore, a sense of awe and anticipation welled up within them. The sea, once a place of uncertainty and danger, now felt like a vast canvas of opportunity, each wave a brushstroke of possibility. The horizon, once distant and unreachable, now beckoned with the promise of undiscovered lands, hidden treasures, and uncharted realms waiting to be explored. Serena stood at the bow of the Ariel, her gaze fixed on the endless expanse ahead, her heart filled with excitement and wonder. Adrian stood beside her, a determined glint in his eyes as he steered the Seafarer onward. Together they felt the pull of adventure, knowing that whatever awaited them, they were ready to face it with courage, curiosity, and a bond stronger than ever before. As the days passed, the rhythm of the journey settled into a satisfying routine. Adrian and Serena, along with their crews, navigated through crystal-clear waters, the sun glinting off the surface as they ventured deeper into uncharted territories. They explored hidden coves, where the shoreline met thick jungles of vibrant green, the air thick with the scent of salt and tropical blooms. Their ships anchored at secret inlets, their hulls resting in serene waters while the crew disembarked to chart the land and examine the flora and fauna. Each new stretch of ocean they crossed revealed a world rich with untold stories. lush coral reefs teeming with exotic fish in a riot of colors, their scales shimmering like jewels beneath the waves, and calm lagoons that whispered the secrets of forgotten times. With each discovery, Adrian and Serena felt a growing sense of wonder and accomplishment. The maps they had once studied in anticipation were now filled with their own markings. Paths traced along coastlines and dotted with symbols denoting new, mysterious sites. Ancient ruins, hidden beneath the thick growth of jungle or buried beneath shifting sands, stood as silent witnesses to the past. Their crews uncovered artifacts and inscriptions, piecing together fragments of a history long forgotten, and each find brought new questions to ponder. Every day, new challenges arose, storms that tested their resolve, unknown sea creatures that demanded caution, and unexpected encounters that deepened their understanding of the world around them. But with each trial, they also found joy in the discoveries, knowing that their journey had just begun, and the mysteries of the world were theirs to uncover. As the golden hues of the setting sun spilled across the horizon, Serena leaned against the railing of the Ariel, her eyes fixed on the canvas of colors unfolding above the sea. The sky shifted from deep purples to fiery oranges, casting a warm glow over the ship's sleek deck. The wind whispered through her hair, the salt air filling her lungs, and for a moment, everything felt perfectly in tune with her heartbeat. She glanced at Adrian, who stood beside her, his gaze just as entranced by the stunning view. The sense of vastness, the endless stretch of ocean around them, felt like both a challenge and a promise. She could feel the weight of the world lifting from her shoulders, replaced by an exhilarating freedom that washed over her like the tide itself. Turning towards him, a soft smile playing on her lips, Serena's voice was filled with quiet awe. "This is everything I hoped it would be. The sense of freedom, the thrill of exploration, it's all so exhilarating." She took in the vibrant scene once more, feeling the weight of the past finally give way to the boundless potential of the future. The call of the unknown, the thrill of discovering new lands, was now within their grasp. This moment, sailing into the great expanse, side by side with Adrian, felt like the fulfillment of a dream long held. She could feel it in her bones. This was only the beginning, and there was so much more to come. Adrian stood beside Serena, his expression thoughtful as he looked toward the endless stretch of ocean ahead. The fading light of the sunset painted the sky in a brilliant array of purples and oranges, and the ship cut through the water with a steady rhythm. His mind raced with the possibilities of all that lay before them. Despite all they had accomplished, the restoration of the reef, the healing of their bonds with the community, it felt like they had only scratched the surface of what the world had to offer. The vast expanse of the ocean before them seemed to mirror his thoughts, an infinite canvas awaiting exploration. Turning slightly to Serena, he gave a small but confident smile, his voice filled with a sense of both reflection and anticipation. "We've achieved so much, but this is just the beginning. There's a whole world out there, and every day brings a new adventure." His words were not just a reflection of their journey so far, but a promise of the boundless possibilities that awaited them. Each new horizon they sailed toward held secrets to uncover, stories to experience, and challenges to conquer. With every passing wave, he felt a growing excitement, knowing that the adventure they had dreamed of was unfolding, piece by piece, before their very eyes. Their new mission was a thrilling departure from all they had known, an adventure that went beyond mere exploration. It was a chance to break free from the constraints of the familiar and carve out new paths in uncharted territories. With each passing day, they were not only discovering new lands but forging a deeper connection with the world around them. This journey held the promise of unveiling ancient mysteries, encountering long-forgotten cultures, and experiencing firsthand the wonders and dangers that lay beyond the horizon. It was a future full of boundless excitement, with every sunrise bringing the potential for something remarkable. As they sailed further into the unknown, they could already feel the pull of the future calling them forward. Their exploration would inevitably lead them to unexpected places, both geographically and emotionally. They would meet people from all walks of life, some who would challenge them, others who would teach them, and many who would become invaluable allies in their quest for discovery. Every destination they reached was another chapter in the unfolding story of their adventure, and together, They would face whatever came next with the shared understanding that the journey itself was as important as the destinations. As the night settled in and the first stars began to twinkle above, Adrian and Serena found a quiet moment to sit together on the deck of the Ariel. The cool breeze ruffled their hair, and the soft creak of the ship's timbers beneath them was a comforting rhythm amidst the vastness of the sea. Their hands were entwined, fingers woven together as if to anchor each other in the present, while the world around them seemed to stretch endlessly. The sky above, now a deep velvet dotted with shimmering stars, felt like a vast canvas, one where their shared dreams and aspirations could take flight, unburdened by the past. The ocean lay before them, an expanse as mysterious as it was beautiful. The gentle lapping of the waves against the ship's hull was a reminder of the countless wonders yet to be discovered. In this moment, the enormity of the world didn't seem overwhelming. Instead, it was a source of endless possibility. Together, they knew they had the strength and determination to face whatever the future held. With their hearts aligned and their hands held tight, they were ready to embrace the unknown, knowing that the adventure ahead was theirs to shape, one starry night at a time. Serena's voice was gentle but filled with conviction as she gazed out at the vast ocean, her words carrying the weight of everything they had overcome. "We've come so far," she said softly, her fingers still intertwined with Adrian's. The journey they had embarked on had been long, filled with both triumphs and hardships, but the world before them now felt full of promise. Each challenge they had faced had only strengthened their bond, and every moment had brought them closer to this shared purpose. Looking out over the endless expanse of water, Serena felt an undeniable sense of hope rising within her, knowing that this was only the beginning of a new chapter. Adrian's gaze shifted to her, a smile tugging at the corner of his lips as he squeezed her hand gently. "The best is yet to come," she continued, her voice filled with a quiet excitement. "Together, we'll explore the unknown and embrace whatever challenges and wonders lie ahead." Her words resonated with him deeply, for in this vast, mysterious world, there was no one else he would rather face the future with. The horizon ahead was wide open, and with Serena by his side, he knew they were ready for whatever came next. They weren't just embarking on an adventure, they were building a life filled with discovery, love, and endless possibility. Adrian's grip tightened around Serena's hand, his eyes gleaming with a mixture of determination and joy as he turned to face her. His heart swelled with a deep sense of purpose, fueled by the bond they shared and the future that awaited them. "Yes, together," he affirmed, his voice steady and full of confidence. The weight of their past struggles had been replaced by the thrill of what lay ahead. This wasn't just a continuation of their journey. It was a new beginning, a fresh mission that would see them navigating uncharted waters, both literally and figuratively. With every step they took together, they would face the unknown with courage, knowing that each challenge was simply another opportunity to grow stronger. As the words left his lips, Adrian felt a deep sense of peace settle in his chest. Serena's presence beside him was everything he needed, her strength, her unwavering belief in their shared purpose, and the love that had only deepened with time. "This is our new adventure," he continued, his voice rich with emotion. "And with you by my side, I know we can face anything." His heart swelled at the thought of all the wonders and challenges that awaited them. Together, there was nothing they couldn't conquer. The world was vast and full of possibilities, and with Serena at his side, Adrian was ready to explore it all, one step at a time. As the ship glided through the calm, moonlit waters, a sense of excitement and anticipation filled the air. The night sky stretched above them, a vast expanse of stars twinkling like tiny beacons of possibility. Each wave that gently rocked the ship seemed to whisper of uncharted lands and hidden treasures, of mysteries waiting to be unraveled. Adrian and Serena stood at the helm, their hearts brimming with the knowledge that their journey had only just begun. The world, with all its wonders and secrets, lay before them, an endless horizon full of promise. They could feel the pull of the unknown, drawing them forward, urging them to explore every corner of the earth, to discover what had yet to be seen by anyone else. With the wind in their sails and the night sky guiding their way, Adrian and Serena exchanged a look of silent understanding. This wasn't just a journey for them. It was a shared mission to uncover the beauty and complexities of the world, to experience everything it had to offer. They were no longer bound by the past but were free to chart their own course, together. Every new discovery, every new day on the horizon, was an opportunity to embrace something bigger than themselves. With hearts full of determination and excitement, they sailed on, ready to face whatever lay ahead, knowing that with each passing moment, they were writing their own story, one of adventure, wonder, and limitless possibility. The ships sailed through the rolling waves, their sails billowing with the steady, powerful wind, propelling them ever forward into the vast expanse of the ocean. Each creak of the wood and snap of the sails seemed to echo the promise of new horizons, the relentless motion of the vessels pushing them toward the unknown. The ocean stretched out endlessly before them, its surface shimmering under the light of the sun, a mirror reflecting the boundless future that awaited. The rhythmic sound of the waves crashing against the hulls became a comforting melody, as if the sea itself was calling them onward, urging them to venture deeper into its embrace. As they steered their course, the world beyond the ships seemed to blur into a dreamscape of possibilities. Every gust of wind brought with it the thrill of exploration, the excitement of what lay just beyond the horizon. The map in their hands was no longer a mere guide but a symbol of endless potential, a tool to navigate the mysteries that awaited them. From ancient ruins hidden beneath the waves to distant lands whispered about in the legends of old, every direction held the promise of discovery. The horizon, once a distant line, now felt like a gateway to a future full of uncharted territories and untold stories. Adrian and Serena stood side by side, their eyes fixed on the horizon, knowing that this journey would shape not only their lives but the world around them. The future was theirs to explore, one adventure at a time. Each new day promised challenges, wonders, and growth, and they were ready to embrace it all. Together, they had faced the past, and now, with the wind at their backs and the ocean ahead, they were free to pursue their shared dreams. The sense of freedom that enveloped them was both exhilarating and humbling, a reminder that the greatest adventures were still to come. With every wave they crossed, they moved closer to the unknown, where the promise of discovery beckoned, and the possibilities were limitless.